Hey guys, APC spokesperson Felix Morka has burst out in anger concerning the interview Peter Obi granted yesterday to clear the air concerning what people were saying about him and what really happened in UK. Tinubu and all the APC spokespersons are not really happy with him. But why so much hatred from these APC members? Guys, watch this video and hear what this APC spokesperson is vomiting from his mouth, and don't forget to share your thought with us.
I'm joined now in the studio by the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Morka. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you
Lovely
so much.
to see you again.
Good to see you again.
I wonder how you react to Peter Obi's interview on this program yesterday. Are there parts of it or all of it that you'd like to respond to from the APC's point of view?
Well, if I had the opportunity, I'll respond to every part of that interview. Because to begin with, I think Mr. Obi thinks that this is all about him, but it's not. He thinks that people in the APC and, for that matter, in all of the nook and cranny of our political life are all looking for him or looking about him to find something. That's not the case. People have moved on. For us in the APC, we had an election. The election has been long concluded. Campaigns are over. Political candidacy, candidacy for parties, it's long gone. It's closed. We've moved on. We have a president-elect who, hopefully, in a few days, will be inaugurated in accordance with our constitution. So I think that, Mr. B, personally, all of this period, I've hesitated really to really take issues with him directly. But I think that he's really crossing the line. Campaigns are over. He needs to just take a cheap pill and rest it. He has a case before the tribunal. He needs to allow his lawyers do their job now. Coming on the show to suggest that everybody in this country in APC are simply, even referred to his private life, people maybe going to look for some babies that he may have had. That's ridiculous. This is about the presidency of this country. This is serious matter. Peter Obi has been way too sanctimonious, I think, for someone who really voluntarily got involved in the political process and offered himself to compete for presidency. What did you expect? It's, a serious business. People say it's even a mucky business, but it is something of a serious business to produce the presidency of a country, any country. There's no country in the world where the competition for presidency is a walk in the park. It's heavy duty, engagement. Sometimes even, I don't want to use the words that were on TV, but people take this to the extreme sometimes. But I think that we've had this. Peter Obi did not win the election. The majority of people in this country voted either for the PDP or for the APC that won the election. Peter Obi came a distant third in the race. So this whole idea that he is the one who won the election that was taken from him, where does that come from? He didn't even come second. If he's claiming, to be the next in line from a third position, that's absolutely ridiculous. So I think he needs to just rest it. And I think he's made a political capital of really exploiting people's vulnerabilities. He did that with the young people. Peter Obi is, by any stretch of calculation, an integral member of Nigeria's political elites. He's a part and parcel of the political establishment. This guy was governor for 8 years in Anambra State.
Well, that could well be why he knows the political establishment enough to want to reform it.
No, see, if by that criterion you suggest that he knows the political system, a man like Asiwaju, I'm sure, knows 1,000,000 times more than he does, because he comes from a longer distance to this conversation than Peter Obi does. So if anyone has any claim, it should actually be the likes of Asiwaju or the likes of Atiku Abubakar, not Peter Obi. But the point I'm making is that in 2019, this guy was the vice presidential candidate to Atiku Abubakar. Now, assuming Atiku won that election, in this election of this season, Peter Obi would have been running for re-election and might have been re-elected, to serve. So when did all this, sainthood actually become?
Right.
Well, the point I'm making is that in that interview, he also referred to the point he made. He made statements about how if he was elected president or if he has the opportunity, he will begin to tackle poverty from the north. The same thing he's done with our young people, he's also doing with the north. There's poverty in Anambra State. While acting as governor, he did not eradicate poverty in Anambra State. There is still gaping poverty in that state. That's his own state. Why the north? Does poverty have a tribal identity, have tribal marks? Why is the poverty in the north more important to him than the one perhaps even in his own backyard?
Well, to be fair to him, and I'm not their spokesperson, but he's not here, so we have to kind of reflect accurately what he said. The point he was looking at the percentages of poverty in Nigeria, and the highest percentage is in the north. That's why he used it as an example. And the second thing, that the point I wanted to make was that he was on the program mostly to try and dispel some of the rumors that were swirling around him and the allegations that were made about him. He was saying, because he's got followers, he has a responsibility to the people who follow him. That's why he said that he was not in fact arrested in England, that he was not, he clarified certain points, because one of Mr. Tinubu's aides, it's all over social media, and a member of the APC mocked Obi over his alleged arrest, that he was treated like a common criminal, and requested that the UK should come and tell us what, the criminal things he had done. And so, in other words, and those were things that he felt affected the people who followed. Well, it didn't agitate him. He just felt...
Clearly it did.
In fact, it was very much an interview. And again, I'm not his spokesman or his defender, but he's not here to defend himself. And it was very much an interview that was for the consumption, that's the impression I had, of his supporters. And on a secondary level, perhaps, for his opponents, chiefly those in the APC. He was clearly trying to persuade his supporters that he was still the rock, as they call him, in spite of all the attempts by the APC to dislodge him. That's the impression that I got.
No, Charles, when you come on national television, you're speaking to everybody. There's no such audience that is selected.
No, I understand that.
Okay? I'm coming. There's no such audience where you say, he was speaking to his supporters. If you wanted to speak to his supporters, call a conference, go to a venue, invite your supporters and speak to them. When you come on national television, whatever you say is available to every Nigerian who is listening. You have a wide audience, for your television. So whatever he says here was meant for the consumption of everyone, including myself. And I listened to that interview. What I'm saying is that, why is it that anytime something is said about Peter Obi that is uncomplimentary, there's the need to come out to speak to his supporters to set the record straight?
Well, I would imagine that if things were said about your principle, you'd do the same thing.
Charles, let me finish my thought on this. Yes, I would do the same thing. But when things are said about, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect, for example, the same supporters of Peter Obi are the ones who make, a mountain out of nothing. For instance, during your interview, he said that, something about talking about the UK and his exit from the UK. He said it was in 2025. That was a slip. That was a normal thing that can happen to anyone
2005?
2025. He said that. But if that was Asiwaju who said that, by now, this will be repeated a million times, even on this television station. All I'm saying is that we all make mistakes. But the point I'm trying to make here is that Peter Obi has this penchant of really, appropriating other people's vulnerabilities for his own good. Everything you asked him about the crisis in the Labour Party, his own experiences, the things that people have said about him, some of the reports, that were not that complimentary, he banalized all of them. He minimalized everything. Listen, there's no crisis in the Labour Party. It's just these rascals who are coming into, Peter Obi is Peter the Perfect. Nothing about Peter Obi is ever, questionable. He is completely perfect. He alone understands Nigeria's problem. He alone knows the problem. Meanwhile, as a campaigner, for that position, Peter Obi did not offer one single policy, prescription to deal with all of these problems he says we have. What has he said? Even in manifesto, at a point, he said he didn't have to, even offer a manifesto because he's Peter Obi. Why would he offer a manifesto? Other candidates who have more experience were willing to lay down their thoughts and their ideas, their vision in documents. So people like you, experts can review and critique, but he would not do that. Look, all I'm saying is that it's not enough. Look at the example he gave. Peter Obi is an importer of goods and products into this country. He talks about containers coming in, with goods and, leaving the country empty. How many of those containers has he ever filled to export so he can generate revenue that he talks about? He said, look, we need to just stop. This is not something I want to come on TV to, be discussing. But the point is that when a man who competed for election, lost an election, has hired, brilliant lawyers and, given them the mandate to go to court and they've gone to court, I think that some of these issues should be left the hell alone.
Right.
So that we can move on. Because whether Peter Obi likes it or not, Nigeria is bigger than him. Nigeria is bigger than even the president-elect. It's bigger than even the current president. But collectively as a nation, we must move on. And it's time to move on.
Well, let's move on.
Leave this behind.
Let's move on in this interview because the next crucial phase for you as a party is the inauguration on May the 29th and the plans for this country after that. What are those plans in a nutshell? I mean, one of the big issues in Nigeria that nobody can deny is that the country is very divided at the moment. And the president, after he's sworn in, the president-elect becomes a president for all Nigerians. So what are his plans for unifying this country in a nutshell? I wonder if you might describe some of that for us and some of the other things you think are important to highlight.
The president-elect is already on that question. He's been, from the day he was elected, his acceptance speech, all of the comments he's made, his remarks in, that are in the public domain, he's recognized that. He knows that he's becoming president at a time when this country has become intensely challenged with, coming together. Polarized, if you want to use that. Around, both the national questions and the issues of existential questions. He recognizes that. And I believe that, and from just being around him and listening to him, I'm convinced that he is coming to this with that sense of duty. He said that very clearly. He's going to be president for everybody, including Peter Obi. He's going to be president for you, for me, for all of us. And I think that Nigerians should just, hold their breath and give him that time of day to, get inaugurated and, take the authority of office.
Yeah, but
I think that in the initial optic, from his appointments, from the speed with which he's going to move to make those appointments and the quality of people and the diversity of people he's going to bring to the table to work with him to begin the business of governance, I think that he will leave no one in doubt that he's come to this with a sense of commitment and purpose.
Well, we'll have to wait and see the composition of the people who are going to work closely with him. Obviously, there's a constitutional requirement for there